Can we just talk? Just you and me.
Hello to everyone, and welcome to what do we call this?
Marriage investment.
And we like to talk about these 3 E's. We are here to encourage,
Enhance,
and enlighten marriages and families. And we have a really great guest with us today.
Yes.
Mario and Sharisa Blanchard.
Mhm.
And as we always do, we're going to ask them to greet our viewers.
Hi,
Hello, I'm Sharisa Blanchard,
I am Mario Blanchard.
and we've been married for 18 years.
Yes.
And we're the parents of 3 children, 15, 12, and 10.
Wow.
Excellent.
And where are you residing?
We live in Greenville, North Carolina.
Okay. All right. Our audience, I want to let you know that when I hear the word 18, that's exciting. I had the honor of officiating their wedding 18 years ago.
Uh-huh.
So when I heard them say that they have a 15-year-old, I said, wow. Because remember when the 15-year-old didn't and the other 3 kids didn't exist. And we haven't seen each other in about a year, but we have been in contact. And as Diane and I normally do, we have this game that we created called Marriage Investment about 20 years ago. It has several hundred cards and a lot of different categories. We're probably going to take an episode just to talk about the game. But for our viewers, as Mario and Sharisa answer a card, we would like you to think how you would answer that question as couples, because that's how the game was designed. We're going to defer to them, and we're going to let them share their heart and how they would answer these cards from the game.
And the first question is?
All right, first question is, when was the last time the 2 of us did something spontaneous?
So earlier this month, we celebrated our 18th anniversary. And
Yes.
we were able to get out of town for a short time and actually celebrate, so that was nice. Mario, I think like a week before our anniversary, said, maybe we can go out of town. And I was like, well, I don't know, because we have the kids and we have our jobs and we have things that we have to take care of. But we were able to make it happen and found a hotel a couple days before we left. And we just went. We didn't really plan what we were going to do. We just kind of went and found some things to do in Raleigh.
Oh, well, congratulations. You got away. So I want to ask you, we talk to a lot of couples, and what would you recommend the couples to just say, well, the kids and my job? So you got around that. What would you recommend to other couples?
Try to make it work. Try to push some things out of the way, or if you need to spend some extra time on the front end taking care of your job and making sure the kids are taken care of, go ahead and do that. Otherwise, you can not have to work when you're on vacation, just have it pile up and do it when you get back.
Yeah,
It's
that's
going to
the
be
one.
there. Yeah, it's going to be there anyway. So either you do it on the front end or do it on the back end. Just as long as you do it, it's the way I see it.
Yeah.
Okay, great. That's great. And I think you have some other cards that you're going to be answering.
Yes. All right. Next card we want is what is something God is compelling us to do? So yeah, you can go first.
Okay, so for this one, when we were reviewing some of the cards, we talked together about what God is compelling us to do. And we were really thinking about, is this a question for each of us individually or together? So we kind of reflected on it individually, and then we reflected on it together. And we jotted down some things that we feel like God is compelling us to do individually that really aligns with us as a couple and, for our family as well. So one of those things Well, I'll just say two of the things. Two of the things are and giving time and giving money, to our church that we belong to, but also giving our time. Before COVID, we were really involved in our children's ministry in our church. And so we volunteered twice per month, and our children, our oldest volunteered as well. And so we give time to our church, we give time to our profession, with different things in our profession, and to our children's activities like scouting and sports. So we give a lot of share our talent, what we feel are our talents and gifts with other people, as well as financially as well.
Wow, good.
Mhm. That's awesome. I hear you have your daughter, you volunteer together in church?
Well, both of us,
Oh,
yes, we volunteer together. We worked we worked with the 2-year-olds together,
Yeah.
and we worked with the 3rd through 5th graders together,
Woo, that's,
which was interesting
yeah,
on many accounts.
Yeah.
yeah.
2-year-olds, believe it or not, were a lot easier to deal with than the 3rd to 5th graders.
I hear you. Well, I commend you on not only being involved, but having your family involved. We've been involved in ministry for a long time. And sometimes one of the disappointing things are seeing kids grow up in church. And then when they turn young adults, they just kind of don't really get involved. But then on the other hand, for the families such as yourself that have their kids involved in ministry, they catch a lot of things very early, and it just becomes a part of their makeup that when I get older and become a young adult, have my own family, that part of what I'm supposed to do is be involved in serving. So
Yes.
Thank you for doing that. You already got the next generation, they'll be ready.
Modeling that before them, and we found that was really helpful for us to have our kids walk alongside as we minister in church. So
Yes.
praise God for that. That's wisdom.
Yeah, and
That's wisdom.
and they really enjoyed it. I mean, especially with the 2-year-olds, our 10 and 12-year-old, which with COVID, we haven't done it in over a year, but I guess they were 11 and 9 at the time, but they really enjoyed working with those younger kids.
Yeah.
And playing with them and assisting. And so, and one of the children's ministers had even said that our now 12-year-old really felt like he feels like he has a gift in working with young children.
Wow.
It was great that they got to spend that time with us as parents too.
Mhm,
Although personally, I think it started because they didn't want to be in the classroom. So they were trying to do things to get out of going to the classroom. But they did help. I mean, they helped a lot. When we told them, all right, you come over, you got to do this, this, and this. And they did it. So,
Yeah.
So they kept it up,
mhm.
and they had a good time doing it.
That's great.
And that's that training verse. Training is also showing. So training the child the way they ought to go, so when they're
That's
old,
right.
they will not depart. So part of the training is showing and doing with them. So excellent. Praise God for that.
Yep, and it sounds like one of them has discovered something that they are compelled or called to do, that they really enjoyed it. And I mean, we do that anyway. We normally grow up saying, well, what do you want to be when you grow up and all that kind of stuff. And so why not ask them, well, where do you see that God might choose or compel you to serve in some kind of capacity? The earlier they discover that, the better.
And discovery is key word. So they might say, well, this is not
Yes.
for me, which is good.
Right. Which is
Right.
what I say with working with that age group. That's God. I don't.
You don't do
2-year-olds. I don't do 2 and 3-year-olds, except for my own. We did those, and our kids are all grown now, and we have grandkids. I used to say, Enoch is our youngest. So anybody younger than Enoch, I would always say I'm retired from that age to birth. So when Enoch was 10, I say I'm retired age 9 to birth. When he turned 16, I say I'm retired 15 to birth. And then we had our first grandchild, and
Now he's come out of retirement.
Emmanuel had a come out of retirement ceremony. Gave me a hat,
Right.
gave me a plaque and everything. He said, "You're out of retirement now because you have grandkids." So
You had to kind of
which
start
I agree
over.
to. Yep.
Yeah. That makes sense. We were hesitant. We were hesitant to do work with the 2-year-olds because, like you said, a lot of times once your kids get older, you're kind of been there, done that. You know, we were working with kids that were still being potty trained, you know, diapers and pull-ups and, you know, so that's a whole different ballgame, but we ended up enjoying it. I mean, we did it for what, 3 or 4 years, 4 or 5 years?
Or something like that. It's been a
Yeah.
while, yeah.
We
Wow.
did it for a while, so we enjoyed it. We ended up enjoying it. I guess because it was so different from our own kids, it gave us a way to serve together and have something different than the stage in our house. You know, like, oh, remember this stage and remember the things you love about that stage. So we enjoyed it.
Yeah. Plus,
So,
the time goes by so fast too. I mean, it's not even like we're doing much work. You know, we just play with the kids, and we did do the lessons that we were instructed to do, and yeah, it just seemed to be a real enjoyable experience.
Yeah.
Didn't even seem like work a lot of the times.
right. So before you go to your next card, since you say you work with 2-year-olds, I want our audience to,
Yes.
give us the age of your kids again.
15, 12, and 10.
Okay, and you went to work with 2-year-olds. So, okay,
Yeah.
so I want our audience to know what you both do for a living, so they'll know, wow. See, I know the wow, but the audience doesn't. So would you tell them what you both do for a living? Then they'll know what kind of age group you work with every day.
I am a high school math teacher. I work at J.H. Rose High School in Greenville.
And I'm a faculty member at ECU in early childhood. So mostly without the pandemic, I work with college students on a daily
So
basis.
you have your own age, you work with teenagers in high school and then college students, and then you went to church and worked with
That novelty helped, I think.
Yeah.
If we had to work with the youth group, we probably would have been like, no, we had that at home and at work. So
Okay. Wow.
That's awesome.
Wow. What are your other cards that you have?
oh, it's one more thing we wanted to mention on that card is that
Sure.
one thing we have said that we've been working on is being better stewards of our money and
Okay.
making sure we're reducing debt. And so our church had groups where you can learn different skills and work with other people. And we did Financial Peace University.
Yeah.
And so,
I know about that.
yeah.
Dave
So we
Ramsey.
really-
Dave Ramsey.
Yes, Dave
yes,
Ramsey. Yep. So that's another piece of what we feel God is compelling us to do, is to learn those skills so that we can, save and be better stewards of our money.
Wow. Congratulations. We took that class and it was very humbling for me because my wife had taken it 2 or 3 years before. And then we were at another church and Financial Peace followed us and Dave Ramsey. So the Lord really kind of was tugging on my heart. You need to take the class. And then I was so disappointed because it's like, I should have done this when my wife asked me to do it like a few years ago. We'd have been further ahead financially. But now we are there. So I understand. I'm sorry, being a disobedient big-headed guy. But hey, I got it together.
Uh-huh. So yeah, so we
Yeah,
can learn
that's
to
the
live
important
like
thing.
no other.
Right.
So we can live like
No other.
That's right. That's right. All right. Which question you want to do next?
How about this one? All right, next card. Children will learn how to treat their spouses by watching their parents. Based on what they see from us, how will they treat their mates?
Ooh.
my, this is good.
That's a good one.
Yeah, it is.
Well, we try to, we treat each other respectfully in person all the time. We try to treat each other respectfully. I know sometimes we might have short fuses or have a bad moment, but for the most part, say 99% of the time, we treat each other respectfully and try to model that around the kids and try to talk to them the way that we want them to talk to us also.
Wow. Good.
And another one that we thought about is, well, related to that, kindness, and being kind to each other. And we also talked about faithfulness, and being faithful to our vows and each other, you know, throughout this time.
I am so
Of
glad to
18
hear
years.
that. That is great news. I'm glad our audience gets to hear that. When our kids were younger, we noticed that they used to say thank you and stuff like that. And then we said, well, where did it get that from? It's because she and I were modeling that around the home. And one of the true things is we know that a boy will learn how to treat his eventual wife by watching how his father treats his mother. And, you know, it goes the other way around also. A girl will learn how to treat her eventual husband based on how her mother treats the girl's father. So these are just basic things that God designed for the home to live out so that kids will catch it. And it's not that we pointing fingers, say you need to do this, you need to do that. They just see it modeled before them and it becomes a natural part of them. So we really appreciate you doing that. That is a loaded question, but it is a great question as well.
Mhm. Yeah.
And I think one thing that, you know, we've learned more as we've been married is that, like you said about modeling and like our own parents, and you know, when you think about who you want to be, like as a couple or as parents, sometimes you don't always have the things that you want to convey to your kids modeled for you. And so those are the things that I think we still work on, and we still talk about, like the things that we still want to build and do with each other, you know.
Mhm.
Yep, we're
Do you
all works
have-
in progress.
Do you have like family discussions or family meetings, how you work out problems, especially like the money issue or the finances? How do you translate the way you respond to each other to the kids as far as how you handle money or other things in your life?
I think it's probably situational. I know one of our kids in particular is always trying to get something new, or or whatever's the latest to the best thing. Even if we just got something a few months ago, he's wanting to. Oh, well, we got two boys. I'm trying not to go ahead and say who it is, but trying to go ahead and get something replaced right away. As soon as something new comes out, he's wanting to get the newest thing. So we try to tell him, you know, as long as whatever we have is working and there's nothing wrong with it, there's no need trying to replace it right away. It's nice to have the new thing, but you know, there are other things we got to prioritize. So we try to model it that way.
Right, yeah, I think we do. And another thing that we do is when we have to make decisions that impact all of us, like sometimes we have decisions we can make about traveling for a vacation as a family. We typically discuss it between the two of us, but when there's like a decision point where it's like, doesn't really matter one way or the other, sometimes we have sort of like a family meeting after church. Typically it's after church. We'll say, okay, we have this thing we want to talk to you all about, and we get their input as well. So, and we say, it doesn't mean we're going to do exactly what you said, but we're getting your input.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, that is great.
Mhm.
You know, we worked with kids over the years, and I remember in Young Life when we would take a whole bus of kids, 36 passenger, 40 some passenger bus from Kansas City, Missouri to North Carolina, where we take them to a Young Life camp. And I noticed that when these kids, you know, we would stop probably twice. And just about every time we stopped, most of the kids would run out the bus and go buy something. But for what? So if they aren't taught, you know, the value of no and some kind of self-discipline and self-control, then they'll be like a lot of those kids. Now, a lot of those kids were kids that, you know, a lot of dysfunction in the family, and it presented wonderful opportunities to train them and teach them. And, you know, we took advantage of that. And so I understand the value of them catching that and seeing that, and you having conversations and then getting their input, which means they grow up knowing that I have a voice in the family.
Yeah.
Because we've seen families where kids don't have any voice, and we see how that plays out when they become teenagers and young adults. and then eventually get married. And if those things aren't really resolved in their heart, it can create a whole bunch of complications.
Mhm. And by the way, after they spend all their money on the way to the camp, when they get to the camp, they have exhausted all their finances.
Right.
Sometimes
Oh,
they have
no.
nothing left to spend.
Yeah, and then
Yeah.
they're there a whole
Well-
week. Right.
Right. That's interesting because our child that he was mentioning is probably the one that saves the most. He doesn't
Wow.
spend his money.
Oh,
He
Oh.
has, he has his money tucked away.
He already knows what's that OPM? How to use other people's money.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, good skill to
Exactly.
have.
But one thing, I guess since we're already talking about this, yeah, I won't say his name, but he has wanted something for a while that he's actually making payments on. So he's started to, first time he's doing layaway, like actually making payments, and he's paid some of it, and then he's doing some extra things to earn money to pay. Because I said, we can't just buy everything that you want. So he's making payments on it, and he will own it eventually rather than just waiting to have it as a gift. So
Wow.
it's been good.
That's awesome.
That is great training.
That reminds me when our kids wanted to have something like
Delayed gratification.
Yes.
Yes. And even designer models, one kid said, okay, I want something designer, like Nikes or whatever it is, right? And we says, okay, here's the designer model, here's the other kind of the cheaper model. Which one you gonna buy? Because if we were buying it, they want the more expensive one. Well, if he was buying it, he chose the less expensive one. So
Right.
we broke them from trying to want all the
latest
latest
stuff.
and greatest.
Yep, that's a good way to do it. That sounds great.
Yeah. That's
They
just,
ran
that's
the top.
interesting. Yep.
So how about the next card? The next question?
All right, how about this? All right, next question. What are the reasons I choose to spend the rest of my life with you?
Ooh.
Yes. Well, I would say early on when Sharice and I were dating, I felt an instant connection after our very first date. And she seemed to be, no, she was totally different from most of the people I've dated before. So I guess just from that point on, I just knew. It was kind of intuitive, but I guess over time it's been her drive. I admire that. Her willingness to go after something that she wants to do. Although sometimes that kind of drives me crazy, or how hard that she works for some of that stuff. But it's also that devotion that she has, and she's also very devoted to our children also. So it's that same drive and the same passion for wanting to go do things for the children of North Carolina, in particular minority children of North Carolina, and then wanting to do that for children, our own children. She's just as passionate for them as she is for our kids. So it's that I admire.
Wow.
Thank you. So some of the things that I thought about is when we were dating, I was thinking about, like he said, when we first went out, we had so much in common, like our conversation was really easy. We had, fun just going to the mall or just doing whatever. We didn't have to, do something special. And over time, as you deal with different things in life, like, positive things and negative challenges, and also positive things that happen, we were able to support each other through some things and felt like, we were better together as far as being able to compliment each other and when I was younger, I remember hearing about like choosing a mate and thinking about, sometimes people, if you're with someone and they kind of bring you down, or like you're not your best self. And so thinking about being your best self and being better together than we were apart is some of the things that, I was thinking about.
Well, that's good to know. I want our audience to know that, and I wasn't going to say this, but I'm going to go ahead and say it. It's nothing bad. Teresa and I are related. So Mario married into the family. So,
Yes.
Our families have reunions up until COVID about every 2 years. We will alternate between New Jersey and North Carolina. So I really know Teresa's parents and our family. Basically, we kind of grew up together, and we see each other a minimum of every 2 to 4 years. So by the time she's somewhere around college or finishing college, she's, talking about getting married. So I said, well, getting married to who? So Mario made the grade years ago. And I remember, I think we did a little bit of premarital counseling that included more than just getting ready for a wedding and trying to really encourage you. And so in 18 years from a distance, I watched you, but then even close up, through your parents, kept up with, how you're doing and having kids. And just want to let you know, Mario, like 18 years ago, welcome to the family. Godly proud of you as a man of God and a husband and a father. So we welcomed you into the family a long time ago. So I can kind of relate. Your wife chose well, and so did you.
I love that.
Yeah, and don't mess up my record, because out of all the people who I've officiated their weddings, they're all still together. One couple I don't know about because we lost contact when I was in the military. But you got to keep my record intact.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
that's the plan.
One thing I reflect on about, when you married us, I think about this sometimes, like a lot of times marriage vows are very simple. It's just the standard, I can't even spout it off right now, but, till death do you part kind of, And I just remember that the vows and the way that the service was organized was different. We were repeating and saying things, and I don't know if you even remember if that's a standard thing you use, but it wasn't the typical just
Right.
vows. And so that really sticks out to me, from our wedding, a covenant.
Yep.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, right. Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
That's special. We need to talk more.
Yeah, we do.
More
Some
often.
more.
Yeah. We've got about a couple of minutes left. I don't know if you want to choose another one, or if you, however you want to do that. And then Diane and I are going to close this out, because 30 minutes goes by really fast. These marital investment episodes are about 30 minutes. Sometimes it might be a little bit longer, but they're usually about 30 minutes. And we're kind of almost there. So we've got another couple of minutes, and we'll give you a chance to talk to our audience or make comments. Whether you want to do another card, we'll just leave that in your hands, and then she and I'll close out.
I think the card that says, how can God use our differences to build character and oneness? I think that was related to the one about, spending the rest of your life together. Because I think that sometimes, what?
No, I know we think differently about certain things. She's more of a, gotta talk something to death before we do it. I'm more of, all right, we'll make a decision and just do it. And if I'm gonna be fine if we do it or don't. I just wanna make a decision, just be done with it.
Yeah. So
Right.
we're very, very different in a lot of the ways that we think and that we do things. But I do feel like in the end, we complement each other. And a lot of those things, like when you're choosing to spend the rest of your life together, all of those things aren't always apparent. Like the things that build character and oneness. But over the years, you kind of start to learn some of the things that, oh, okay, this makes sense. You know, this makes sense that we were put together for these reasons. So that's just one that I was thinking of.
Mhm.
Great. Yeah, we learned years ago, and before it got really long into the marriage, that God created us different by his design. And there's some things my wife brings to the table that I don't, and vice versa. And then we've learned that he did that on purpose. You know, if both of us are the same, somebody's not is unnecessary.
Right.
So we live in a world where, you know, God created us different by design. And we have different callings, different things that we do. And I think one of the main things that we learn is our differences are to complement and help, not to contradict and hurt. And I'm still learning. I said, well, that's just how Diane's wired. It's not a bad thing. I'll give you one example. After church for years, you know, I want to get home and watch the football game. And she's having all this conversation with people. And so I eventually learned that my wife is conversational and she's a people magnet, and a lot of people, particularly women, are just drawn to her and they love to be around her and all that stuff. And there I am with my mouth poked out after church, getting angry because I want to go home and watch the football game. So I just used some wisdom and we drove 2 cars. And so I just, you know, I can leave you there and then I can go home and watch the game. That was before I took on a lot of leadership responsibilities, but you know, that's how she's wired. She's got a lot of conversation. And, you know, every now and then it's like we went to the movies and I was already out in the vehicle. We went to a movie on
Spontaneous.
yeah,
right?
Spontaneous. We did that Spontaneous. On Friday, the movie was shown in the church, a very good, you know, good movie. And so there were only a few people there. And so after the movie, I went to the bathroom and I was in the car.
Waiting.
Waiting. But I wasn't angry. I said, you know what?
Ooh, he's wrong.
I know she in there having conversation.
Yes.
Took a long time to learn that, though. Oh my goodness. If I could get paid for how angry I was, but she's just a great person. So that's how we're different.
Yes. Yes.
You know, so I just thank God. Thank you for sharing your heart, Mario and Sharisa. And we congratulate you on 18 years and continuing and being, you know, really good parents.
But you know, too, I want to add as we maybe closing out, unless y'all want to say some more, give us some more answers to your questions. That's how God is. He's not boring. God is not boring. I mean, come on, take 2 separate different people, and then through the course of time, join us as together as 2 magnificent rivers. But as we pounding and growing to know one, growing into know one another, become one majestic river, right? To his glory, to his honor. So, and there will be, like you said, ups and downs and bumps and challenges, but we don't give up the ship.
Nope. 1 new life and 2 persons.
So,
Which I think part of that was in y'all's vows years ago. 1 new life and 2 persons in the whole covenant thing.
covenant there. So praise God for you both.
We are out of time though.
We are.
Yep.
Oh,
And
no.
we're probably going to ask the Blanchards to come back in the future. We're going to be doing some parenting stuff that's going to be relevant for many of our viewers. So thank you again for joining us. And to our audience, you'll be able to go back and watch this episode on Facebook or YouTube or the Marriage Investment website page. At the end, you will see where you can go see all of that and get those platforms. So, hey, Mario, Sharisa, and to your family and to all the rest of the family, thank you for being on and your willingness to be transparent and open. And we're glad to have you on Marriage Investment episode today. I think it's episode 6, I think, something like that. 7, something like that. But anyway, they're beginning to add up. And we want to ask you to come back in the future, probably somewhere around season 2, where we deal with some other things. So God bless you, and we say goodbye.
Thank you, and let his face shine upon you.
Thank you so much for having us.